Nursery managers must comply with a number of federal, state, and local laws and regulations. Because laws and regulations are subject to modification with time, it is desirable that nursery managers keep informed of changes that will affect their nurseries. It is best accomplished by maintaining membership in the ANLA as well as in various state and local nursery associations. Codes, including numbers, colors, and abbreviations, are used within the industry for many reasons. Where standard codes exist, they should be utilized. I'm Dr. DeBusk, and these laws have been summarized briefly within this video. Here we have a list of the important laws and regulations that you should be familiar with when opening up or starting any type of nursery business. Let's not forget that in addition to those that you're seeing here, there are various state and local governments that have laws that affect the nursery industry. So I'll summarize these laws and regulations that you're seeing on the list. However, you should contact the organization where the laws come from, whether it's the USDA, Farm Service Agency, or NRCS, to help you get more information. Also, organizations like the American Nurserymen and Landscape Association and ANLA are very good providers of information as well. In the Federal Social Security Act, the cost of this program is borne by both the employers and the employees. So 12.4% of the employee's income is paid equally by both, 6.2% by each party, toward their Social Security. After 1991, all of the ag employers are required to withhold Social Security. The Federal Unemployment Compensation Act became effective in 1978. The rate is 6%, and this applies to the first $7,000 paid to each employee as wages during the year. Your state wage base may be different, so again, this is an area where you need to look at both the federal and the state agencies involved. For more information with any federal program, you should go to www.irs.gov. The Fair Labor Standards Act, or Federal Wage Hour Law, is a type of minimum wage, but it also has some equal pay provisions for male and female employees. There are certain agricultural exemptions. For example, if you have an hourly employee, you do not have to pay time and a half for overtime. That's hours worked over 40 hours a week, although many employers do. Piecework is another exemption where you're able to pay less than the minimum wage, but you are paying for the amount of work produced. In other words, you could pay a crew to pot up plants, and you pay them by the trailer load or by the pot, as well as minimum wage that is below the minimum wage. Another very important one is OSHA, or the Occupational Safety and Health Act. The ANLA has an OSHA compliance manual that is very useful for the nursery industry. This goes over general safety and health standards. In 1987 came the Right to Know rules regarding hazard communication to include virtually everyone in the workplace. The new standards require all employers to develop a hazard communication program, including logging all chemical products in the workplace, labeling all hazardous chemical containers, keeping safety data sheets, SDS, in an area where they are immediately available in an emergency, identifying and training employees that could be exposed, and developing and maintaining a training program for hazardous chemicals. Workers' compensation insurance, WCI, must be carried by employers who hire one or more employees that work in a hazardous occupation, and by all employers who employ 3 or more employees. The rates for WCI vary according to the type of employment, the hazards involved, and the personal injury history of the company. The Migrant and Seasonal Agricultural Worker Protection Act of 1983 protects migrant and seasonal agricultural workers by establishing employment standards related to wages, housing, transportation, disclosures, and record keeping. The purpose of this act is to remove the restraints on commerce caused by activities detrimental to migrant and seasonal agricultural workers. The American with Disabilities Act, or ADA, affects growers who employ 15 or more employees. It provides a clear and comprehensive national mandate and standards addressing discrimination against individuals with disabilities. A summary is available from the ANLA. The Plant Pest Act of 1912 and 1957 are really our basic quarantine laws. This is related to the movement of plants from one place to another, so prior to 1912, there were no laws whatsoever preventing the entry of a foreign pest. In other words, an invasive non-native pest, pathogen, or plant species. That could really cause havoc in the new area, such as Florida. For the Plant Pest Act, there are 3 types: foreign, interstate, and intrastate. A state license is required for persons, partnerships, and corporations growing and selling nursery plants here. It's obtained from the State Agricultural Department. For Florida, that is the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. Shipping out of state requires a nursery inspection certificate. All states have these laws in place to regulate commerce from one state to another, and even within the same state. The Federal Environmental Pesticide Control Act of 1972, which are amendments to the Federal Insecticide, Fungicide, and Rodenticide Act, FIFRA, were enacted to protect people and the environment from the hazards of dangerous pesticides. The Act classifies pesticides and pesticide applicators and limits the application of pesticides according to the applicator's training and certification. The Act is administered by the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. In addition, most states have developed individual environmental protection laws in conformity with federal guidelines. Pesticides are classified into 2 categories: general use and restricted use. General use pesticides are those which, when applied in accordance with the directions for use, will not generally cause unreasonable adverse effects on the environment. Restricted use pesticides are those which, when applied correctly, may cause unreasonable adverse effects on the environment, including injury to the applicator. Only certified pesticide applicators can purchase and use restricted pesticides. Individuals can be certified either as a private applicator or commercial applicator. A private applicator license allows you to spray pesticides on the property you are employed at, such as a farm or nursery, while a commercial applicator can apply pesticides on other properties, such as homes or businesses. States develop their own programs for training and certifying applications. For up-to-date details on classification of pesticides, procedures for certification, liabilities, etc., growers should contact the State Department of Agriculture or the local Extension Service. The Plant Variety Protection Act provides legal protection to developers of new varieties of plants reproduced sexually by seed. The law states that protection may be extended to a novel variety if it meets the 3 qualifications of distinctness, uniformity, and stability. The owner of a new and novel plant variety who obtains a certificate of protection under this act has control over the use of that variety for 17 years. The Plant Patent Act allows for plant patents to be obtained by someone who invents or discovers and asexually reproduces any distinct and new variety of plant other than tuber-propagated plants. Characteristics that may distinguish a new cultivar of plant for patent consideration include habit of growth, colors of stems, leaves, flowers, or fruit, resistance to cold, drought, heat, or disease, productivity or lack of productivity of flowers or fruit, fragrance, storage qualities, and ease of asexual propagation. The plant patent lasts for 17 years. Permission to sell the patented plant or propagate it is typically given in return for the payment of a royalty. Trademarks ensure that trademark plant names used in marketing the plant may not be used by others in commerce without permission of the owner of the trademark. Others may sell the same plant but cannot use a trademark name on it in doing so. Trademarks should be identified with either TM if unregistered or a circled R if registered with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. For example, if ABC Nursery produces a new cultivar, Nandina domestica abcor, that nursery may give the plant the trademark name Protectable. The plant may be produced and sold as Nandina domestica abcor by other nurseries, but only ABC Nursery may sell it as Protectable, Nandina domestica abcor. Most states have laws related to environmental pesticides, labor standards, liens, licenses, occupational safety, pest control, including diseases, insects, and vertebrates, and sales tax. In some states, wholesale growers are required to collect sales tax on gross in-state sales unless they are presented with a copy of the resale certificate, a farmer's exemption certificate, an exempt use certificate, an exempt organization certificate, a direct payment permit, or identification of the purchaser as a government agency. Out-of-state customers are exempt from the tax except when plants are delivered to a point in or picked up in the state of sale. Municipal laws affecting nursery operators usually relate to licenses, property zoning, and road limitations. The United States is the only major nation in the world that has neither adopted the metric system nor established a time schedule for conversion. Nevertheless, growers who do business with foreign countries need a conversion table to convert U.S. units to metric units and vice versa, such as when caliper, height, spread, or size classes are specified. Various codes, including numbers, colors, letters, and barcodes, are used in the nursery and landscape industry for many purposes. Nurseries use numbers and/or letters when processing data electronically, using codes to indicate the plant species, cultivar, and grade. Seedling and transplants are commonly coded by number to indicate the number of years in a seed or transplant bed. For example, 2-1 indicates 2 years in seed bed, 1 year in transplant bed. 2-0 indicates 2-year seedlings. In summary, there are many different laws and regulations that owners of plant industries have to follow. There are consequences if they are not.